I really need you to stick around to the end of this video. So here's a little bit of Canadian history for you. We're at the Castle Mountain internment camp, which is a World War I German prisoner of war internment camp. Apparently conditions were pretty brutal. Every time I visit places like these, I kind of get overwhelmed by the stupidity of it all. 99.9% of the people involved in any sort of conflict don't want to be there. You know, the conflict starts by stupid, corrupt, evil politicians. Every time it just highlights to me the importance of standing up for what you believe in and what you think is right. You know, all of the people who were the combatants, they're all people who were just doing their job, you know, and many of them are pressed into service, particularly in World War I. There was, you know, forced conscription and stuff like that. And, you know, when we as individuals abdicate our right to express our opinion and to stand up for what we believe is right, then we're giving power to somebody who will abuse it. Anyway, that's what I think about those sites. So I'm back home in my shop and I just wanted to share a few more thoughts. I just finished editing that video with this video and wanted to add a couple things to it. The rather famous psychological experiment by a man named Stanley Milgram was performed. This was just after a lot of the Nazi war trials, and there was a lot of interest in kind of quantifying the amount of evil that people could be pushed to doing. Milgram's experiment consisted of three people. There was a researcher, a teacher, and a learner. So the researcher would bring the teacher and the learner into a room, and he would hook up the learner to an electric chair, basically, and he would explain that this study was to study memory and learning via the use of punishment with an electric shock. And so then the teacher would be placed in front of this electric shock machine and would be instructed to deliver a shock each time the learner messed up recall on a pair of words. The shock would be increased each time the learner missed a word. So now here's kind of the tricky part of this study. The learner was actually a part of the research team. They were an actor who was pretending to be a research subject as well. The real point of this study was to see how far the subject, the teacher, would push the electric shocking on this person. So as the individual would increasingly miss more and more words, the shock would get up and worse until eventually the learner would be shocked so much that they would be screaming in pain or potentially even pass out. And so the original assumption was that, you know, some people are going to do it, obviously, because of, you know, what happened during the Holocaust. But this proved out to be shockingly wrong, if you forgive the pun. Almost 60% of the original subjects would push the button to the very end to a potentially lethal level of shock. Now they also repeated this experiment in several different areas, countries, cultures, and in some areas that rate went up to 85%. 85% of the people were willing to submit to the authority to the point of potentially killing somebody. So it would appear that as long as there's an authority figure that you can blame to take away your personal responsibility, people are perfectly willing to violate their personal morals or their beliefs about the sanctity of human life, or even inflicting pain. Critically, though, in a follow-up study, they included another actor into the situation who was a teacher as well, but they refused to administer the shock beyond a certain point. And so as a result, the subjects would also refuse. In fact, only 10% of them would push it past the point they felt comfortable and into this potentially dangerous zone. So the take-home message is this: stand up for what you believe is right. Don't allow perceived authority to push you into doing something that you believe is wrong. Stand up for what you believe in, and others will stand beside you. Evil does not exist in the heart of man. However, apathy does. And if apathy controls you, then evil is only one step behind. Thanks for watching.